Harvest Moon: Back to Nature is a role-playing, life simulation styled game that was released for the PlayStation in 1999 and would also see a later port of the game being added to the Sony PSP. This would be the first Harvest Moon game to be released on a different console other than a Nintendo console, as the game originated way back on the Nintendo 64 and was considered to be a massive hit on the platform, so much so that the game over the years has spawned multiple different sequels and spin-offs, as the franchise itself is very popular amongst gamers. But the Nintendo 64 version was considered one of the most popular games on that system during its time, due to its intricate nature, and the fact is that you could develop a character, get to understand the character's traits, but to also kind of like live a virtual life. It was essentially one of those type of games that was the first in its kind to allow players to move away from the elements of real life and to live in almost a virtual style environment where you played as a unique character and tried to build the character around to your own kind of traits and qualities, while doing all of the typical tasks, while trying to survive, maintain elements that you have around you, but also building rapport and building social connections with people. So it was one of the original games in many ways to do so. So that would continue on with inevitable sequels, and especially with the game being so big, it was inevitable that it was going to expand its reach beyond the Nintendo 64 onto other consoles, and it became just as popular outside of the N64 as ever, pretty much. So with the premise of this game, you play as a young boy named Pete who ends up taking over his grandfather's farm after his grandfather has passed away. So his inevitable goal is to go back to basics, to try and reinvigorate the land around the farm, to regrow the crops, plants, food, but to maintain the land surrounding the farm itself and just to bring it back to a sustainable living standard, but while also getting to know the townsfolk and making new friends and just building up a social reputation and just trying to live a normal life. So the character or the player will go through many different areas and try to upgrade various elements, from rebuilding various elements, fields, crops, fixing up old buildings, and just maintaining everything within the game and just gradually building the character up over time. You will unlock new features, new tools and resources that you can use to better equip the character with more skills so that you can work much faster and become more efficient over time. And with these elements, it's really what made these games so addictive, and that's why on the N64 with the original game, why it was so popular, and with many future sequels that would be on the PlayStation and even on later consoles, those addictive qualities were still put in place. The game itself did receive favourable reviews upon its release, and many of the reviewers were stating that it was the addictive quality that would always keep you coming back to play more, because you always wanted to see what happened next. You always wanted to see how much you could push the character to try and rebuild and to see how far you could go with the game. It'd be very different from your typical style of RPG element type games where it builds it up in a slower type of pace, as you have to maintain everything on top of trying to level up your character. So there's many different tasks and you have to take on a multitude of different responsibilities. Essentially you're in control of everything, between running a business, running a farm, trying to level up your own character. You're in control of everything, so there's a lot of different tasks, trials and hurdles that you will need to face and overcome as you play through the game. But it's all played with a cartoony style perspective, which really appeals to the nature of what the game is trying to go for, and that type of trait would continue on with future sequels in the franchise itself. Even by today's standards, it's still considered to be one of the most popular series with this style of game that's out there, and for many a player, it's a game that people will go back to time and again just to relive the nostalgia and to go through the whole process all over again. There's just something really about the characteristics with these type of games that just have a really good way of keeping people coming back for more. So you will interact with different characters as you play, many of which can open up new doors or areas of interest to you that can help you to expand your reach, unlock new features, and also give you different ideas of how you can maintain and even expand your reach with building your farm and just your social outreach at all. So there's many different characteristics in this game that helps to evolve the experience in many different ways, which is quite unique. And considering for an early game way back over 20 years ago, it does have enough unique appeal in that respect. While it's a type of game that might not be for everybody, it will appeal to a certain few, but due to its popularity, considering how popular it was on the Nintendo 64, I have no doubt that many other gamers will revisit the game. Even new players will find it appealing, as it just has a lot of unique traits and characteristics. But I would love to know your thoughts on Harvest Moon Back to Nature for the PS1, and what do you think of this game overall? Or did you play any other games in the series, or did you play the original game way back even on the N64? So I'd love to hear whatever your thoughts are of this unique game, so be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you would like to see more content around other types of unique and quirky style RPG games that were also released on the PS1, you can check out this list of games on screen to see more of them in action. And as always, keep those gaming memories alive.